Dividend investing is a strategy that has been advocated for decades by some of the world's most famous investors and economists. Warren Buffett, John Bogle, Jack Bogle, and Ben Graham were all big fans of this type of investing. However, one thing you won't find in their literature is how to actually go about living off dividends. Well, that's because dividend-paying stocks are not a get-rich-quick scheme or even a way to generate income immediately. They're more of a long-term plan that you need to implement correctly for it to work. In this video, we will cover all aspects of dividend investing, how much capital you need, what type of stocks should be purchased and when, as well as some tips on managing your portfolio over time so that eventually it becomes self-sustaining while still generating the income needed to live off dividends with ease. There are a few things you should keep in mind when building your own dividend portfolio. First, start with a long-term plan. Don't try to time the market or make haphazard decisions. Instead, take a deep breath and commit to buy some quality stocks that might not pay dividends right away. Second, start with a small amount of capital. Even if you can afford more, it's best not to pour all your money into one stock or two just yet. It's better to diversify your portfolio early on than regret having too few positions later down the road when there may not be enough opportunity left in the market for further growth or expansion. Thirdly, choose companies that offer good yields on their earnings as well as good dividend growth rates over time. This will allow for greater flexibility in terms of capital gains growth potential without sacrificing any income from regular payouts via dividends themselves. How much capital do you need to live off dividends? There are two ways to look at this question, depending on your personal situation. The first is how much money you need in order to retire with a comfortable lifestyle. This is the standard approach when calculating how much capital one needs in order to live off of their investments and avoid having a job at all. It's also good for helping people who want an idea of what they need in case they want or need more than just basic financial security later down the road. For example, maybe they want to pursue other interests such as traveling or starting or growing businesses. To get an accurate estimate of how much you'll need, take your annual expenses and multiply them by 2%. That will give you approximately how much it would cost annually if we were able to not only pay all those bills, but also have some fun money left over each year. If that doesn't sound like enough for all those things though, well then maybe now might be the time to think about other options instead, like working part-time. So that way there won't be any worry about whether their nest egg will last long enough after retirement. Because hopefully by then, it'll already have been built enough during working years. There are a few things to look for when choosing stocks to invest in. First is dividend yield. This is the percentage of your investment that is paid back to you as a dividend. For example, if you invest $1,000 in a stock and it pays out 5%, then the company will give you back $50 each year. When looking at yields, make sure they're high enough for your taste, and remember that high dividends don't necessarily mean good investments. Second is dividend growth. If a company has shown consistent growth over time, then its earnings should continue growing at least as fast as market rates, or faster. So how do you know what company is worth investing in? Start by looking at finance websites like Morningstar. It has a wide range of stock research tools that can help you analyze and find promising companies. The question of what the best income ratio is when living off dividends depends on your personal needs and preferences. You can choose a dividend income ratio that works for you as long as it's in the 50% to 70% range. The higher your income ratio, the more shares you'll have to sell every month, and therefore take on more risk. If you're young and have plenty of time before retirement age, then this probably won't matter much. But if you're looking at retiring soon or are close to retirement age already, then it makes sense to go with a lower ratio so that there isn't much money tied up in stocks when they could be better invested elsewhere. As a general rule of thumb, if you want your investments to grow at a slow and steady pace over time and not make sudden dramatic changes, then an investment with a high dividend yield could be right for you. If instead you want more immediate results, for example, if your goal is retirement, then an investment with low or no dividends might be better suited for long-term goals like saving up for college tuition or retirement savings account like 401ks or IRAs. When should you sell your stocks? The answer to this question is complicated and depends on the situation. It's not something that you should do frequently, but it's also not something you should never do. If a stock has been performing well and paying out dividends every year, it can be a good idea to sell off some shares when the price goes down. After all, if you're going to have more money anyway, why keep your old shares? On the other hand, if a company has been having problems or facing challenges recently, such as lower profits due to an economic downturn, it might be worth holding onto your stocks even if they're falling in value, because they could come back up again soon enough with better news from management or from market forces at large, such as rising interest rates. If nothing else sells well anymore because everyone else thinks like this too, then there's no reason for anyone else who owns them not to hold onto their stocks either. If you want to understand how much your dividend portfolio is earning and see exactly what stocks in your portfolio paid out a dividend on any given day, then we'd highly recommend checking out Personal Capital. It's a free tool that tracks all of your investments across several accounts, brokerage, multiple banks, 401k, and etc., and provides a dashboard that lets you control which specific stocks or funds you track. You can then easily determine how much each holding has paid you in dividends over time. In addition, they recently added ETF support for free, making it even easier to see not only what investments are doing now, but what they'll pay down the road when sold at their yields. The software also allows you to create an investment policy statement, which outlines your goals, strategies, risk tolerance, and other factors so that you don't have to think about them every time you make an investment. It's very cool stuff. It is possible to live off dividends, but you need to do some work. First, you need to choose the right stocks. You will want to invest in companies that pay a generous dividend and have a history of raising that dividend each year or two. Next, you will want to be patient, as it may take years before your portfolio grows large enough that it can support your entire budget without working at all, depending on how much money you are willing to put into the market. Having an income stream from dividends would make sense for most people who choose this route instead of simply selling their stocks once they reach the age of 65 and 66. After which point, distributions from IRAs become taxable again unless rolled over into another qualified retirement plan, such as an annuity or life insurance products offered by most insurance companies today. Finally, there needs not only patience but also discipline, because if at first glance this doesn't sound like something anyone would want, either way there could be some other investing options out there, such as real estate, which might suit better depending upon personal circumstances, such as whether one wants short-term gains now versus long-term wealth accumulation over time. There is no question that the most successful dividend investors are people who understand the principles of good investing and how to apply them in their own unique circumstances. Once you have a solid grasp of these fundamentals, you can use them to create a plan that works for your life and your goals. The beauty of dividend reinvestment plans is that they allow you to live off of dividends without having to sell stock. This means you can make money on an ongoing basis from your investments while still enjoying the security of knowing that your assets will always be there when needed. If this sounds appealing, then consider opening one today. Well, that's it for today's video. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. We'd love to hear them. And as always guys, don't forget to subscribe and give us a huge thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.